Hi, my name is James Martin, and I'm an artist up in Sacramento, California, and I am absolutely thrilled today to get to talk to one of my all-time favorite performers. Now, granted, I have a lot of performers that I absolutely love, big diva names and some obscure people, but this one artist absolutely tops my list every single time. Maybe because we're friends and we've worked together, but today I'm talking with Nathan Temby, who has put out a new project, and I'm very excited that he's here to talk about it today. Nathan, tell me a little about the project that you've got coming out.
The new project is called Holding On, and it's a new Broadway covers album that kind of happened by accident. I was recording what I thought was going to be a little EP for the end of the year, and that came from doing these live videos that we filmed last October at my Broadway concert in Sacramento. I've been using them for Cover Song Fridays this year. And there were a few songs that just didn't quite make the cut as far as I was concerned. And I was getting kind of sad because they were Feeling Good and For Forever, songs that I was really hoping I would get a good recording of and be able to use. And so as the year was progressing, I started saying, well, I don't have a lot of songs left to make episodes out of, so what am I going to do? And I thought, well, just make an EP of those songs, like a studio version of those songs, and put it out at the end of the year as the finale. That turned into, well, if you're going to do that, then why don't you just make a whole album? So I thought, okay, cool, I'll make an album of Broadway cover songs with just me and the piano. And then James Patrick Carey, who is the person responsible for recording Jacob Pederuto on the drums for me for the last album and for this one, said, hey, if you want Jacob to get his drums on this album, I'm totally down to help make that happen. And of course, that just opened the floodgates, because now I'm like, oh, cool, I can do whatever I want. So it is my accidental album. I didn't mean for this to be this big, giant production, and it turned into something so much more than what it started out as. And yet I'm so excited about what it's become. So that's kind of where this all came from.
I know that every artist has a reason they choose what they choose. So what inspired this album? I mean, really, what's your personal connection to this material?
I've always loved Broadway. I've always loved musical theater. I will never get tired of doing musical theater covers and all of that. And 2020 has been, for everybody, just a very hard time. And for me, it gave me some sense of purpose as an artist, as someone who likes to create things. It turned into a way to focus that energy instead of just sitting around and being anxious and not knowing what to do with myself. And I also thought, well, this will be nice because maybe, just maybe, it'll brighten someone's day. It'll give someone some way to escape from their own troubles for a little while they listen to this music.
With every artist, I'm kind of curious, like, why did you choose the songs you chose? Like, what made you pick each one of these for yourself?
I choose the songs based on, number one, I do have a connection with each song. And I also try, and maybe not successfully, but I do try to be honest with myself and say, just because you like the song doesn't mean you sound good singing it. So sometimes I have to take songs away that I maybe love to death, but it just doesn't sound right. Or maybe at this time I haven't found my way into how to perform it yet. So it may just not be the right time. A lot of these songs, I made a list of like 30 songs when this whole thing started, and then had to rein myself in and say things like, you have 4 songs right here that are all about a breakup. You need to pick one instead of repeating yourself. Which one of these speaks to you the most at this moment in time? Okay, I'm going to choose that one. And so some of the songs were songs that I wanted to put on my last album in 2018, and they never made it past the initial let's make a list of songs phase. So I revisited that and said, you know what, it's time. I can do this song, I can do that song. I've changed as a person, or I've changed in whatever way that made it so that I was able to approach the song the way I thought I should. And the songs themselves, in the order that they're in, I feel like there is a story arc there that if you're looking for a story arc from start to finish, it's there if you really look at how the storyline kind of plays out from start to finish.
There's also a piece where every artist has a back catalog of stuff that they've recorded and not used because it didn't fit or it didn't seem like the right choice after that one. What didn't make it on this particular album? What goes into your back catalog?
Once I got my list of songs down to a more manageable, this is actually the length of an album and not 40 songs, again, there were songs that I really wanted to record, but again, they were kind of telling the same story or having the same subject matter as another song that I'd already chosen and was kind of the front runner against them. So it's nothing against the songs themselves. It's just they didn't quite make it to the recording phase. And I actually am kind of bummed because I was going to record them, even though halfway through this process, I was pretty adamant about what my track listing was going to be. I said, record these because you never know. You might change something at the last minute. And it just got so involved that I was like, nope, just focus on the 10 you've got. Don't worry about these other ones. Songs that didn't make this album, and when I say that, I mean I literally didn't even record them. I was going to do Tell Me on a Sunday. I think Being Alive was in there. Anthem from Chess. There were a few that I just never got around to, but hey, never say never. They might show up somewhere else. There was a couple of songs that I actually did record for What I Am back in 2018 that are lying in the vault that have never been released, and maybe I'll release those someday. So we'll see.
You have a really unusual recording process. So explain to people how this works for you because of your situation, and in particular, how you did this with a pandemic and stay-at-home orders.
The recording process for this was pretty down to a science almost by the time I got going on it. But the way we had to do it was the 5 songs on the album that have the full production, like with drums and everything. I had to record the piano tracks to a rhythm track so that I would stay in tempo. And then I threw some scratch vocals on top of that, sent it down to Jim and Jacob, and they spent some time with it and then recorded all of Jacob's drums, sent those sessions back to me, and then I sent the finished drums and piano and scratch vocal to Sean Grindle, who then recorded the bass guitar and acoustic guitars. And while all that was going on, I was recording the rest of the piano and the rest of the vocals and the rest of the instrumentation, like the stuff that's on, Feeling Good and the strings and all that stuff. I was adding that myself. And by the end, went back and redid the final vocals and then started mixing. So it was a pretty organized chaos, but it really did work. And we all recorded in our home studios, so that was kind of a nice thing to be like, now Sean's going to do this in his home studio, and Jim's going to do this in his home studio, and I'm going to do this here. And so it like I said, it was kind of down to a science to make sure everything kind of lined up perfectly.
What's your favorite part about recording? Like, what everybody has a reason why they do what they do. Why do you do what you do?
My favorite part about recording at home is the, I guess, anxiety of booking a studio, and then the day of your recording session, your voice isn't all there. You had an allergy attack, or you're getting over a cold, or you're just not hydrated enough, or whatever the case may be. And I think being at home where it's just like, oh, you know what? My voice feels really good today. I'm going to put the vocals on that one song I've been working on while I feel 110%. That also can lead to being lazy. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I like the comfort of being home where you can just work however you need to, when you need to, as opposed to being on someone else's schedule. That being said, I also enjoy working in a studio setting with an actual engineer that knows what the hell they're doing, as opposed to me over here with my little dog and pony show. But I do like the comfort of being in my own house.
What was the hardest challenge about recording this particular album? I mean, every project has challenges, but this one in particular, you must have something that stands out.
The hardest part right now, and I'm not sure if this is actually coming through on the microphone during this interview, but the hardest part is that for a number of years now, and I'm not exaggerating when I say a number of years, there are 2 buildings across the street from our apartment. One was a parking lot at one point, and the other one was just a little tiny 2-story building. And now there are basically 2 ginormous multi-level condo buildings that have been being constructed. Literally, they broke ground, I think, right before I started the first season of Cover Song Fridays. So the only real frustration is the nonstop, when am I going to record vocals? When am I going to do this, that, and the other? Because, there's a jackhammer going on. There's no way to muffle it. Especially for Cover Song Fridays for those first 2, or that first season. The first season was literally actual video footage of me recording the vocals. I wasn't lip syncing. So to try to set all of that up and get the right vocal take, and then a siren goes by and you're like, ah. But at the same time, I don't think it's really caused too many problems. It's just that little, I wish I had a soundproof room, but I don't. So that's really the only challenge to trying to put this together.
I think that every artist gives so much of themselves to every piece that they do. So what part of this particular album has the most impact for you? Which one was the that you're most proud of, that you have the most connection to?
That's a really hard question to answer. I will say it does change. And there's different ones for different reasons. Feeling Good has, I went with the Michael Bublé arrangement. And I did, all the horns are sampled and blah, blah, blah. And I did that all myself. But it took so much time and care to really figure out what each section was doing and really make sure I was trying to capture it the best way I could. I don't think it's the perfect way. I just think it's as good as I could have. And so to think about how much work went into that one track and then to hear it and be like, wow, it actually came out in a way that I'm proud of all that work. So sometimes that's where my brain goes when it comes to thinking about my favorite or the one I'm most connected to. But I also think that Perfect is another one that it's just, I love the cello with the piano and just the mood of the song, but I also think it's one of the most brilliant lyrics I've ever had the honor of singing because it's so true. It's such a truthful song about that type of a breakup when it just isn't working. And it's not you, it's not me, it's literally just not meant to be. And we have to be adults about it. And it's such a beautiful sentiment that doesn't negate the relationship even though the relationship is ending. And then at the same time, I Am Changing is such a powerful song, and I feel like I'm going through, not just with 2020, but in general, I feel like I'm in the middle of a very big shift in my life for changing a lot of the things that I've been doing over the years that I need to stop doing, habits and whatnot, and just becoming a better version of myself. And that's kind of why that song ends the album, to be honest, is because that's where I'm hoping to go next in my life, is to change the things about me that I really think need to change and grow up a little bit. So that's sort of my convoluted answer to that question. It changes. It really does change. It depends on the day, I think.
And you always have so many things going on in your life and so many projects. So what's the next project for you? So what are you working on now?
Well, right now I am getting ready to film the music video for the album, as well as I'm wrapping up Cover Song Friday Season 4, getting ready for the album's release, trying to work on different things I want to do to kind of, to send it off into the world in a great way. And yeah, that's pretty much where my focus is right now, is just getting the last parts of this album's release done in the proper way.
And what are you going to do after this? What's your next project coming up?
Well, Season 5 of Cover Song Fridays is coming, and I'm going to give myself a little time to sort of breathe and step away from releasing this new album and the holidays and all of that. But I will be starting to work on season 5 sooner than later, because I have some great ideas. I have an outline of what songs I'm going to do, and it's time to start kind of diving into that and fleshing out those ideas and starting to really work on the new recordings and the new videos. But after I've given myself a little time to kind of breathe and enjoy that, this album is done and get it out there to the world. I also am continuing to work on new material, because I would like to eventually put out another original album at some point in the future. So I better get started on that if I'm ever expecting to get enough music put together for that.
Now, I've done a lot of work for Nathan, and it's very interesting, Nate, that we have a different kind of collaboration. You call me up I have to tell everybody, we've done album artwork for years together, and sometimes it's Nathan's idea, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's my idea, and sometimes it's both of us working together. I'm always intrigued how it just seems to work out so well. So, Nathan, tell me about how you used your ideas to get this album cover together.
So, I was talking to James about I'm going to talk about you like you're not here. I was talking to James about the album cover. I sent him a lot of pictures of different things, like different theater spaces, different styles of like Art Deco and blah, 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 and really deep, beautiful burgundies and hues and like the warmth I was going for. And he had originally made a little cardboard 3-dimensional stage with like fabric and stuff for the curtains. And I was like, this is good. Let's build on this. Let's build on this. And then all of a sudden he sends me this drawing that was just, I was like, yep, that's it. That is the album cover. And he spent a lot of energy on it. There's like 100,000 shades, and he really did an amazing job on it. And then, James, you said, I'll send it to you so that you can make sure you scan it, whatever, because it was like, how do we get this into the art form on digital? So he sends it to me, and the pillars are separate. They're each their own separate piece, and then the middle stage section is its own separate piece. The middle stage section is literally the size of a vinyl album. That's how big this thing was. And I was just like dumbfounded by, even in person, how much even more beautiful it looks in person. And at that point, I still didn't have a name for the album. But then when I was I was rehearsing the vocals for the album, and I started singing Hold On, and I started crying. And that's when I went, oh my gosh, that's what this album needs to be called, is Holding On, because that's what we're all doing right now. We're holding on. And especially, the people in the theater industry and the entertainment industry, every part of the entertainment industry, on stage, under the stage, backstage, above the stage, front of a house, everywhere, we're all sitting here going, when does this end? Because everything we put our hopes and dreams and lives into is just on hold. And some of us don't know if we're ever going to do what we set out to do with our lives ever again. And my other thing was, I don't want a picture of me that wasn't taken by James, and there was no way for us to do a photo shoot. But I went through and found what ended up being an outtake from my last album's photo shoot. And that is what you see on that stage, is an outtake from the last album that I redid and made, out of the texture and everything too. And I just thought, this is exactly what I want this album cover to convey, is that I'm sitting here ready to entertain you once we can again. And for right now, this is what I can give you. So that's kind of where that all went.
I know you've collaborated with other people in the past, not just on this album. What's collaboration like for you? What does that mean for an artist to collaborate?
Well, when I collaborate with people, I think it depends on the person's, what the project is. When I work with, you on a project, like you said earlier, sometimes you have an idea and I'm like, yep, let's do it. And it always seems to work. Sometimes I'm very adamant about, I need it to be this. And you are very good at capturing exactly what I want. Like the album cover for the live album. You captured that is exactly what I wanted. And it came out perfect. Collaborating with other people, when Talia Price and I would do a show in New York, that's a definite collaboration of what I feel is an equal collaboration. she'll have some ideas for some songs. I'll have some ideas for some songs. We'll have some ideas for some mashups, some medleys, some sort of a theme or a through line for the show. And we talk it out. We have, we call them our powwow or our little, FaceTime meetup. And we work on the show because I can't speak for her, but I know that when we get done with that show, I want her and I both to feel proud of what we've done and also what we contributed and feel like we are heard. This is my idea. What do you think? And as far as other collaborations, I mean, my dueling piano shows are collaborations. If you really think about it, you're trusting that the other person is going to be up there with you all night long, just doing the show with you and playing off you and playing off them. And so collaboration is something that happens a lot in my life. And I do like it. I think it enriches you to work with other people. It keeps you, it's like doing a theater show. You watch someone else doing their craft and you might learn something and go, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to try that. That's cool. And it's not stealing, but it's literally learning from someone else and growing because of someone else. And I think that's another part of collaboration.
I know that you are always doing other media things. So you're very involved with doing lots of social media stuff and getting yourself busy all the time. What's the project look like for you about social media stuff? What are you working on also?
Social media has always been a push and pull with me. I love it, but I don't feel like I've harnessed it. And I think that's something I want to try to do in 2021 is to really understand, let's be honest, with the music business, social media can be a business thing as well as a creative outlet and a fun thing. How do I connect all of that? How do I keep people engaged and wanting more from me? And how do I also post enough without driving people crazy? I don't want to be obnoxious either. So I'm still kind of learning that whole side of the music business. And I think that's one of my goals for 2021 is to really start to harness the power of social media. And not just for my music, but to help other people. Like, how can I harness this and through what I'm doing, maybe raise money for this thing or raise awareness about this thing and do good? Because there's so much tearing down on social media, and I've been guilty of it myself. I am not without blame. But how do I personally just take that to a different level? The album will be out on December 4th in all of the digital platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Pandora, all of that. So please pick it up if you are so inclined. That would be great.
Nathan, I want to thank you so much for talking with me today. I know it's not a lot of time because you're always really busy, but I think everybody's always so interested because you are always so busy and keeping yourself occupied that it's always so much fun to spend some time with you.
Thank you so much for having me and for taking the time to do this interview.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.